Will Diddy go for a plea deal? That's the big question. We're going to get into it. Plus some other interesting information I got in store. Let's go.
Ooh, you are listening to the Billy Flint Experience.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight for another Billy Flint Experience. I'm your host, Billy Flint, and you are coming live here in Germany. Hope everyone's day was productive. Of course, we are in the middle of the week. Well, actually, it's after 12 o'clock here in Germany, so it's technically Thursday here, but wherever you at in the world, I'm still hoping the best for you. Hoping things are going well and everyone's in good health. We got some interesting developing news pertaining old dirty Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs, and the drama that he has found himself in since he has been taken into custody a couple of days ago. Plus, we have some other interesting findings. Of course, I have been really researching a lot of this information on the internet, trying to pull from different sources, credible news sources, of course, because I don't do that conspiracy theory stuff, and I certainly do not subscribe to fake news or misinformation. I want to put that out there first, get that out of the way, because I want to come forward with concise information, entertaining, funny at times, but well developed and well thought out podcast. That's what I do here. So we're gonna get into the title, which is from at least the information that I have been receiving. I all day I've been combing through the internet, and I have been looking over a lot of articles. There's a lot of information out there, but I'm gonna bring forward a little bit later a very, very interesting podcast that I came across on YouTube. I'm going to save that for later. It's a little bit long. It's 35 minutes long, but it's mind-blowing. And the reason I say it's mind-blowing because it has everything to do with Kim Porter's book. Okay? So we're going to save that for later. But the first thing that I came across I came across today in my findings is, and this is taken from TMZ, of course, and this is pertaining to Diddy and him wanting to get the hell out of jail. It says Diddy, life in danger behind bars. It says former MDC Brooklyn warden claims. An article starts off, Diddy should watch his back in prison, because a former warden of the facility he's in says there are a whole lot of inmates would see deleting him as a badge of honor. As you know, Diddy currently being held in MDC Brooklyn, a notorious federal detention facility in New York City, without bail. Sources with direct knowledge tells us Diddy's being held in the special housing unit, which is also known as, they call it SHU, which is SHU. He's being held in the special housing unit away from general population. Cameron Lindsay, former warden of MDC Brooklyn, tells TMZ Diddy's location in the SHU makes sense because he is a target behind bars. With his celebrity status and the nature of the allegations against him, potentially bringing him unwanted attention from other inmates. In fact, Lindsay claims some would consider deleting the mogul a badge of honor. So prison officials want to minimize access to the star. I don't know why they would call him a star. He's a falling star. Okay, it continues in the SHU. Lindsay says Diddy's lifestyle would be heavily regimented with just 1 hour of rec time per day and 3 showers a week. 3 showers a week. Let that sink in for a minute, because 30 years. 30 years Diddy have been living high on the hog.
Robert. 30 years of my career.
Living high on the hog. Immense wealth. Okay, just immense wealth, and I can't even think of the word, but just having this lifestyle of the best of everything every day of his life for at least the past 20 to 25 years. So him having to take 3 showers a week, and even if the facility, even if he is in the special housing unit, I can't even imagine. But even if it's in the special housing unit, I'm pretty much understanding that it's still filthy. It's hot. It's nasty. It's dirty. And that's something that I know he can't handle, because he's been spoiled. He's been spoiled with his wealth. So it continues to say, it says 3 showers a week. We're told family and friends will be allowed to visit periodically, while his lawyers will have more access to work on his case. A day in the life of Diddy, Cameron says. He will receive a 6 a.m. wake-up call. At time he will need to make his bed, mop the floor, and generally keep his cell clean. We're told he'll receive 3 meals a day, adding up to 1,800 calories daily. So there will be no Ciroc for him. I don't think he really drinks that anymore. Well, there will be no DeLeon for him. Lobster, shrimp, fettuccine with cheese. Nope. That would not be on his list of menu. But it says all of which will be prepared daily and will wait in a warming box for them to be given to him, since he's not in general population. Meaning the lackluster prison food won't be particularly fresh when he receives it. Oh, poor Diddy. Diddy has access to a commissary where he can buy, smaller goods like candy, chocolate. No, I didn't say chocolate, but small goods like candy, coffee, tea, cheese, and other larger items like sweatpants, sneakers, radio, and baby oil. It didn't say that. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Jeez. And other lubricants. Okay, the article continues to say James Carsoro, attorney to the rapper Casanova, who spent time at MDC Brooklyn before he was sentenced to 188 months last year for racketeering. So we have another hip-hop artist that was sentenced to racketeering. What is this thing with racketeering? Why is like everybody wants to be gangsters? Everybody wants to play gangster. But at least now I understand, because you look at these entertainers on social media. Take for Instagram for example. You look at these entertainers and they're throwing around their wealth, their cars, their clothing, their jewelry, their homes, their private jets, and they're throwing this around. And Method Man, I'll quote Method Man. Method Man said one time, "How in the hell are these rappers living this lifestyle?" It's very interesting. Okay, so it says, again, Casanova, who spent time at the MDC Brooklyn before he was sentenced to 188 months last year for racketeering, tells TMZ conditions in their prisons are even more dire than they sound. Casaros says regular fights and assaults break out in the prison itself. And in the shoe, he says, Diddy will have a very limited amount of access to the library and the phone, as if he's going to be doing any reading. JK says it's harder for visitors to come and see people in the shoe because it takes a long time to get to the shoe, and the prison doesn't allocate more time. So even with regular visitations, Diddy will still likely not see much of his family. All in all, it sounds like Diddy will be living a pretty isolated life unless he's allowed out on bail soon. Again, this article was posted today. We all know that his bail has been denied, but he has offered up a few of his trinkets, a few of his toys, his livelihood, houses and airplane and passport, his kid's passport, his mother's home. And that's why I stopped to think, and I said, well, okay, well, if he's doing all of that, he's trying his hardest to not go to jail, because again, this is something that I know that he would not survive. I hate to say that, but I really hate to say this. And I mean this. I mean this from my heart. I mean, yes, he's a clown. He's a jackass. He's a very, very nasty, mean, evil individual. I mean, he's no more evil than Hugh Hefner or Jeffrey Epstein or the rest of those freaks. But I still would not want anything to happen to him, at least until the time he's, he has his time, his day in court. And I think that's where the real justice lies. As long as he has his time in court and he's tried by a jury of his, of his peers, I think he deserves that much, even though the mounting evidence, it keeps stacking up day by day by day by day, and it's not looking good for Diddy at all. So that's why I was thinking that, is it a possibility, even though he pled not guilty, being at that this is a racketeering case, it's a RICO, and even though he pled not guilty, and I did my research, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't know that much about law, but at least I did my research, and it is pointed out to say that he can still go back, and it's time sensitive, so he can still go back in and readjust his plea. And that's when I was thinking that, is it a possibility? Because a lot of things are mounting up, and I'm thinking that, is it a possibility that he can go for a plea deal if the prosecutors offer it? Because with the 3 charges that he's had, that's upon his head, those 3 charges, well, at least for the racketeering, that's life. But as far as the other 2, the essay and the shrugs, those carry a lesser sentence, a lesser time. So, but still, if he's convicted on all 3, he's going away for life. So, but from what the research that I've did and the information that I've read, it says that he can still go for a plea deal, which will lessen if the prosecutors go for this, or even if they even offer it. But if he has good lawyers on his side, his lawyers, and maybe that's why he doesn't want to go into jail. He's trying to, make this bail, so at least he's out free to put things in order, to get things put into place, because he still has to sell his properties. He still have to dump that private jet, which there is no offers. There is no one that wants to buy that crap. But this is what I'm thinking. And it's my unpopular opinion. It's my unpopular opinion.
Incoming.
I say, and again, I feel kind of bad for him, because with this mounting information and these charges, and the fact that he has to be in jail without bail, I'm afraid, and I hate to say this, but I'm afraid something will happen to him. It might be another Jeffrey Epstein situation. And the reason that I say that is because, being that this is a RICO charge, and that there's other people connected, there's other people connected because of his organization, Combs Enterprises, and what's on the other allegations of him having an organization of people helping him out during these freak-offs. The cleaners, the people, the staff that organize these events, and then however many videotapes he has of different celebrities, probably politicians, and the list goes on. So I'm thinking that for him to lessen the time that he spends in prison, he is going to snitch. And I think that's something that he's going to do. I really think that's something that he's going to do. I think that he will go for a plea deal. In hopes that he's going to start naming some names. He's going to start naming big names. And I think that has gotten the entertainment industry in a chokehold, because I'm pretty much sure there's a lot of people that are really sitting on pins and needles right now, hoping and praying that he keeps his mouth shut and that they are not thrown into the fire with him. But again, I'm thinking that he is going to go for a plea deal, because I don't think that he's cut out for this prison life. And as I just read from the TMZ article, that there's people even in this holding detention place. It's small. I don't know how large it is, but it's not prison. They have to keep him basically in solitary confinement. They have to keep him away from the public, away from the rest of the inmates, because of the fact that he and his life is in danger. So again, I don't want this to turn into a Jeffrey Epstein situation where, something happens to him where, he loses his life, whether it's self-inflicted or whether it's at the hands of another individual. At least give him the time to go to court and have his trial, so he is judged by his peers. And if he has good lawyers, let's hope that his lawyers are talking to the prosecutors and seeing if there is a plea deal on the table. But the number one thing, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, I was, and this is shocking. This is really shocking to me. I had no idea. Well, I did have somewhat of an idea, because we all heard of the rumors that Kim Porter, his girlfriend, I don't know if maybe they dated for 10 years, probably longer. But the mother of his children, is it 3 of his children? Was it 4? Let's just say 3. But I know that the fact that Kim Porter and her untimely death was all suspicious, and the suspicion around that connected Diddy with the untimely demise of Kim Porter from the flu, of all things. And of course, the gossip and the conspiracy behind that has been running rampant on all social media, especially on YouTube, with a lot of different content creators chiming in and basically, spreading a lot of misinformation. Now, when I've heard about the fact that she had a book, or that she was writing a book, or she was in the process of writing a book, again, I was thinking that, okay, well, this is just speculation. It's not necessarily true, because there was no book nothing being produced. It was just all hearsay. But searching on YouTube today, I come across this particular podcast. I have my notes out here. Come across this particular podcast, and this is by accident. I wasn't looking for it. It just popped up on my page, right? And The gentleman is called Matthew Cox, and the name of his podcast is Inside True Crime. And one of his guests is goes by the name of Hollywood Wade. Now, I haven't did much research, but I was really compelled to add this to this podcast. Again, this is 35 minutes, so it is kind of lengthy, but the information that they were discussing on this particular podcast, and of course this podcast came out earlier today, so it's not old, it's recent. And what they were talking about was really, really mind-boggling. Some of the stuff, again, we've all heard about the Biggie and the Tupac and the allegations and the conspiracy around that leading back to Diddy. But the fact that this gentleman was saying that he got a hold of parts of the book from Kim Porter, wasn't a complete book, but he said he had he got a hold of parts of the book. And then he was saying, of course, that the book was actually on Amazon. Of course, I went on Amazon, and it's not on Amazon. But then later I come to find out that there's a possibility that Diddy and his lawyers had that book taken off of Amazon. But this individual, again, he goes by the name of Hollywood Wade. He actually took a photograph on his phone showing that it was actually on Amazon, and it was a book with Kim Porter's face on it. The name of the book is what is the name of her book? Jeez. Give me 1 second. I do have it here. Or maybe I thought I had it here. Because I want to get this right. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I want to get this right. Okay, the name of her book is called Kim's Last Words. Okay, and again, he has a photograph on his phone. He did a screenshot that it was on Amazon, and he was saying that the book is on Amazon as far as 2 weeks ago. That's what he was saying, but it's not on Amazon now. So, again, there is I guess this is the so-called book that for years people have been saying that Kim Porter has supposed to have been writing. But again, it's not on Amazon. So I had sat and listened to this podcast. It's a lot longer than 35 minutes. It's about an hour, but I didn't want to put the whole podcast here. I just wanted just enough of the information that really, really shocked me from what they were talking about. So I'm going to play it right now. Again, this is, if you want to go by his page, again, the gentleman's name, and this is on YouTube, his name is Matthew Cox, Inside True Crime. And this particular podcast, the gentleman is named Hollywood Wade. And I would like everyone to listen to it. It's a very, very good podcast. Again, this is about 35 minutes, so stay to the end because it's very, very interesting.
Anybody that knows anything about the Diddy situation, he had a longtime girlfriend, Kim Porter. Now, he had a few kids with her. They had a long-running relationship, and then they did separate. Now, it's been long rumored that she was writing like a diary. I don't necessarily know if I would call it a book, but a diary of events that took place throughout their relationship. And then she mysteriously passed away due to pneumonia. As I was saying, it's been long rumored that she was writing a tell-all book, or at least a memoir, detailing her tumultuous life with P. Diddy and some of his extracurricular activities. I read it. I was actually out of town, so I took it with me, and I'm reading it on the plane. And it's not a lot, which tends to put a little bit of validity towards it. Was like her memoirs. It wasn't actually a full-blown book. This is not a 300-page book by any means. It more or less looked like a diary that was kind of put together in sequential order. And it was about 45 pages long. And I read it, and I'm just like, wow. And now I grew up. P. Diddy was hot when I grew up. Like Bad Boy was hot. Tupac. I mean, those two were the top in the game. Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls, Tupac. So Puff Daddy was in the limelight everywhere. And he stayed there for a good deal of time. And then he branched out and done other things with Ciroc and Sean John. So it's not somebody that I was completely, unaware of. But the things that were talked about in that book, I was just like, there's no way. There's no way he done all this. And we're going to talk about a few things in there because now, like, the more time has went by, I read this book in April. Yeah.
The hold on. Let's see. The Southern District of New York would beg to differ.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That a lot more, that book, that diary that you read is looking more and more credible now.
Yes, it definitely is more and more credible. And this is just one woman's accounts as we'll go through when we get into the, all the charges against him. There's multiple women, multiple crimes, multiple things that's going on that he's getting charged with. Very serious stuff. And this is just one account, one lady. Now and I'm going to just talk about a few of the things from this book because there's a lot of stuff in there. Some very prominent people in the music business are named. I'm not going to talk about every single one, but just a few of them. She says when she first meets Diddy that they, of course, began at some point in time to engage in some activity. And which is fine. I mean, by God, go right ahead. Yeah.
He's not shy. That's for sure.
No, because what his idea of a good time is he wants her to use extra large toys and different things on him to the point to where he's, bleeding. It seems a little painful to me. I don't know. I wouldn't consider that what I would, put in the classification as a pleasurable experience, but to him it was. And I think you can get there. I think at a point in time when you have money and stuff like that, I'm not saying I'll ever be there, but I think it's possible. When you have money and you have girls, I think, you probably go to one girl, then two girls, then three girls, then this, then that. I think you eventually have to get to where that really, really, really far out there is what satisfies the regular craving for you. I think that's a thing. My opinion, I could be wrong. It's not my thing, but I think it is a thing for some people. And she said that she was so weirded out by this experience that she didn't want to talk to him anymore. And obviously she knew who he was. It was Diddy, but I mean, she was just like, this is pretty strange. I'm not going, it's too much. And he pursued her for a while, but they met up at a club and he was like, I was just kind of a little out there and I'm sorry. And I'd really like to give it another chance. And, they get back together. And she alludes in there that he had affairs with people like Mary J. Blige and that she also was having, it was pretty much an open relationship. They were both doing their own thing, which is, I think in Hollywood and that industry is probably pretty common.
Right.
One of the bigger ones was, and this is the short that we, that I discussed on the show, was the Tupac situation. Now she claims in this book to have been with Tupac solo at another point in time. Now, before all the bad blood between East Coast, West Coast, and before everybody wanted to, take each other out, all these guys are friends. Now, there's some pictures in this book of people hanging out in the same location, Snoop, Diddy, etc. And a lot of these, I mean, there's a famous, I forget right off where it's at, but I mean, Pac and Biggie are together rapping at like some concert. It's a famous concert where they get up there and freestyle. So there was a point in time where they all got along. And she said they're at Diddy's home and, they're all hanging out, chilling. And she's like, she's been with Pac solo. And Diddy kind of brings it up like, hey, we've all been with each other, but we've never been with each other together. I've been with Kim, you've been with Kim, but we've never been with Kim together. And almost kind of lays out a competition as to one goes first and sees how long it takes to get Kim to climax.
Right.
Okay, I want to stop it right there. Okay, I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to stop. I want to just let this play. But that little piece is at which he was saying that, again, I had really no idea, because I thought all this time that P. Diddy and Tupac never liked each other at all. That they were like on two different spectrums. And here it is, taken from Kim Porter's book, that Tupac actually was with Kim Porter. Mind blowing. Fucking mind blowing. And that even Diddy was nasty back in the 90s. Doing these freak offs. Back in the early to mid 90s, he was involved with freak offs. And the whole thing, the whole narrative behind these freak offs, and how Cassie has been the apex of this movement of putting this information out here for the public to know what was really going on behind closed doors. A lot of people speculated that Kim Porter was probably the one that he respected most. And here it is in her book, she's explaining that she was just like Cassie.
And Pac is, according to her words, and I want to make sure people understand this. I'm reading from this book. I'm not saying this is true. I wasn't there. I wasn't hiding in the closet. Oh, Hollywood wasn't nowhere around there, okay? I'm going off the book. She says that Pac is immediately like, F that, F this, F that. I'm not feeling that or whatever. And he just like basically cusses Diddy out and leaves. So this sends Diddy into a little bit of a tizzy. He's obviously upset. I don't know whether he's worried that, Pac could spill the beans on what he's into or what. The next day, she says she walks in on a conversation that was had between Pac and a guy by the name of Jimmy Henchman, and that it was an orchestrated setup for Tupac to be shot, which was the shooting that happened at Quad 6 Studios the first time Pac got shot.
Boom. So this makes it a little bit more real, that book that Kim Porter was in the process of writing, Diddy knew about. So maybe, just maybe, again, this is my unpopular opinion, that maybe he did have something to do with the untimely death of Kim Porter, based on the information that she had about not only his lifestyle, because at this point in time, and in the new millennium, no one cares. You could be gay, you could be transgender, no one cares. No one, if that's your lifestyle, so be it. And even in the 90s, it was, possibly no big deal. It was, so what? That's your lifestyle. That's your lifestyle. It was the other information that she had on Diddy. That's what I'm thinking.
Number of times. Now, I know people are going to say it wasn't Jimmy Henchman, it was this person, or it was that person, or it was Haitian Jack. I'm not saying this was exactly what happened. Again, I'm just reading from this book. Now, if you watch that Tupac and Biggie, I don't know if I actually ever watched the Tupac movie, but I know there was a show, and he is going to the studio in New York allegedly, Big sees him from the street. They wave him up. As he goes into the lobby, he's basically robbed and shot. Now, in Tupac's mind, he's thinking he was set up to come there. That is really, in a sense, what kind of started this whole beef between Tupac and Biggie, East Coast, West Coast. That event was the catalyst. That was the first domino to fall. Now, Pac obviously didn't die. He got shot and he lived, but after that, things just wasn't the same. Now, to hear this book tell it, that was put into motion by Diddy as a revenge for, I guess, Pac dissing off the situation. It seems a little extreme to go to that, I'll admit. But once it doesn't happen, once he's not killed, he's like, all right, well, now he's going to be pissed. Now he's going to think it's us.
That will upset you.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where he'd be a little,
Some people shrug it off, but some people take it personal.
I mean, I would. It's personal. It's personal. So now Diddy is kind of like, where do we go from here? And so there's a meeting, and he tells, and Big allegedly does not want to do this, but he tells Big to go ahead and drop the track "Who Shot You." This is all in her book. I'm not making this up. This isn't Hollywood's, hip hop fables. This is from the book. Okay. You don't want to believe me, go yell at the author. That's all I can say. That he tells him to go ahead and drop "Who Shot You," because it's almost a poke at Tupac. I don't know if you're familiar with the song, but it's basically, "Who shot you" kind of says it, but allegedly this was written before that happened. But now when he drops it, immediately it kind of just pours gasoline on the situation. And she says, Puffy's like, well, if he didn't die, he's going to fire back at us. We might as well at least profit financially from this. And so that kind of starts that. He drops that. Tupac drops "Hit 'Em Up," which was probably one of the greatest diss tracks ever. He talks about being with Faith's wife, or Biggie's wife, Faith Evans, excuse me. Definitely not Faith Hill, Faith Evans. And so that's where all those kind of tracks come into play. Now, Biggie Smalls is a whole nother story in this, because Biggie allegedly was going to leave Bad Boy and go out on his own. Now, since I read that book in March, there's been multiple articles that drop here, there on different internet sources that said Biggie was going to go out on his own. There's been sources that said Biggie and Pac were going to both leave. Biggie was going to leave Bad Boy. Pac was going to leave Death Row. They were going to get together and do their own label. That has also been something I've read. That is not in this book, but that's just other things that I've read. Now, Puff says at a party, this is at a party where a lot of prominent, people are supposed to be at, and Kim overhears Puffy say, I'm not going to have his damn back if he's not got my back 100, or something to that effect. And he's like, I can't do it myself, but I'll pull protection if we ever leave New York. Now, if you take that at face value, when they go to California, which is not the place that, your East Coast rappers are very welcomed, it is where Big got shot. Right. And if you look into the details of it, Gene Deal, who's been doing a lot of interviews here lately, he was the bodyguard. He was with Puff. Nobody was with Biggie. Biggie was taken out. He was shot. I mean, Puff's car was not shot at. So you kind of start to see maybe there is some validity to this. But then I would like, okay, well, why would you take out your biggest artist? Well, if he knew that Biggie was going to leave, he wasn't going to be his biggest artist anymore.
Right.
And I'm not 100% sure on what happened with all the royalties and, the masters and all of that stuff. There's a part in that book that says Valletta Wallace, who was Biggie's mom, came to Puff and was basically asking for some of the money that her son had earned and generated through all the music and everything. And he basically told her, kind of like the whole MC Hammer thing, was like, he didn't really make any money. He was in debt. I paid for all the publishing for these records. I paid for this. I paid for that. Really, he owed me money. But if you need a little bit of help, I'll give you some.
Yeah. Out of the goodness of my heart.
Yeah, out of the goodness of my heart, I'll give it to you. Because I'll be honest, you haven't heard a ton from Valletta Wallace, good or bad, about the whole situation with Puffy. And let's be honest, Diddy, I'm sure it was his friend. I'm sure they had, some sort of bond, but he milked, Biggie's death for everything it was worth. And apparently, I'm not sure. I think it is true because Sting said it on the Breakfast Club. He sampled the Police, "I'll Be Missing You," when he sung that song for Biggie. Allegedly, he has to pay Sting, I want to say it's like $1,000 or a couple thousand a day for the rights to that song. That's about to run out here real soon. Sting better be glad he got what he got, because Diddy's about to not be able to pay nothing for a while. So that's another story that's in this book. There's also a story about, you remember when he dated Jennifer Lopez?
Yeah.
According to Kim, this whole entire relationship between them two was basically a farce for the media. They were together. They would make public appearances. They would appear to be a couple, but in actuality, Kim was still living at his house. And there was an instance, I don't know how much you followed rap back in those days, where you were out in those days, weren't you? Were you in jail?
I was out, but I don't.
I'm not sure the time. This would have been maybe mid-90s. There was a rapper that come out named Shine. Remember him?
No. I would have followed it more if they'd played it on WQIK Country.
Okay, I don't know if that's a lot.
I would have probably heard a lot more of it, but they didn't tend to play those songs in country music.
You're not going to get a Shine on WIKK Country. I'm glad there's not another K in there. Otherwise, there's going to be some sniffing around that radio station.
UYK, not KK.
Oh, YK. Okay. So Shine come out. I actually love Shine's first rap album. It is up there on like my top 5 of all rap albums. And I love all kinds of music. Shine had a very distinctive voice. He sounded very much like Biggie Smalls. And he was kind of going to be that guy to revive Bad Boy, to put him back in that gangster rap, because you could tell a lot of his stuff that he was rapping about was stuff he really did. I mean, he told a story. If you go back to how people would tell stories when they were rap, he was telling stories. I'm not going to say they were true, but they damn sure sounded true. If they weren't his, they were somebody that he knew.
Right.
Because it was pretty detailed. So his stardom, his ship starting to sail, if you will. And they're all at a nightclub in New York. Jennifer Lopez, Shine, Puff, and there's a shooting that happens. A girl gets shot in the face. I don't think she died. I think she got shot in the face. I don't think anybody died. I don't think. But anyways, they all get in Puffy's SUV and take off. Now, what winds up happening is Shine takes the rap for having the gun and doing the shooting, but everybody immediately says that it was Biggie. Shine gets a pretty
not Biggie. He actually mistakenly said Biddy, but it's basically it was Diddy was the one who actually pulled the trigger. That's what he's talking about. We're gonna listen to a little bit more of this because I think he's finished from quoting what was in the book, but this what he's saying is still pretty interesting because it all ties together of what all the speculation for years around that New York club shooting, him dating J-Lo. Incidentally, J-Lo's name is also in the lawsuit, along with other movie stars, other celebrities and stars. But we're gonna listen to just a little bit more of this.
Substantial prison sentence out of this. I don't know if it was like 10 years or 12 years, but he goes to jail. That's what eventually winds up happening. But before that, like the next day after the shooting, she says, this is Kim talking, J-Lo shows up at the house and is like irate with Puffy. saying that, she's got a career and this is going to cost her career in movies and this, that, and the other. And he tells her to relax, that he's got it all under control. She said, what do you mean you got it under control? And he's like, Shine's going to take the rap for it. He's going to take the bid. Nobody's going to have to do any time. He's going to admit to having the gun. He's going to admit to being the trigger guy. And, we're basically going to skate on this. And she's like, well, what happens if he changes his mind while he's in there? Like if he don't decides, hey, I'm not going to do all this time. He's like, nobody inside will change their mind. There's too many people that can get to him if they decide to change their mind. And I guess to a certain degree, maybe it kind of set her at ease. And according to Kim, before she leaves, he tries to get the three of them to get together. And J-Lo's just like, no, there's too much shit going on. I can't do this.
Okay, see, again, Diddy was doing these freak offs with Kim Porter also.
So even in the midst of all this, Puffy's still trying to, get J-Lo and Kim into bed. I guess kudos to him. He's not...
Priorities.
Yeah, you got priorities. You got priorities. So just a little tidbit here on the Shine situation. Shine gets out of jail, and allegedly he cut, I think, his second rap album. There's like 2 songs on there. The quality is absolutely horrible. Allegedly, he cut them from jail. But now he gets out of jail and is given, I can't remember the number amount on the contract. It was either like $2 million or $8 million, somewhere along in that neighborhood, by a guy named L.A. Reid. L.A. Reid's a big music producer in Hollywood. You probably heard his name mentioned in other documentaries. Now he's given that by L.A. Reid to do like, X amount of albums. That second one came out. He goes to a whole nother country and that album never comes out. Now what it said is that was a payoff that L.A. Reid made to Shine to do some albums that he never did. L.A. never tried to follow up on it, get his money back or everything. What happened. And according to this book, Puffy paid L.A. under the table to give that to Shine. That way it's not coming from him as payment for taking the rap for the
right. And they have a legitimate reason on why he would pay him. He's supposed to do 2 albums and he fucked me over.
Yeah. So, but I mean, LA never pushes it. He never goes after it, but correct. They have a legitimate reason why that money came, but and nothing ever came of it. They never got what they were supposed to get. Everybody said that was the payoff.
Okay. Just got me thinking about, since he was just talking about J-Lo, the time that Diddy and Jennifer Lopez was dating, and the fact that he was still with Kim Porter while he was quote unquote dating Jennifer Lopez. It also, it brings to my mind, because of the fact that Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck just got a divorce. Now I'm starting to think, now a lot of things are starting to come together. A lot of dots are starting to be connected. And I'm thinking, like, could this be the possibility, the reason of them actually divorcing is because probably Ben Affleck was knowing all of this was about to drop. He wants to distance himself away from that toxic ass Jennifer Lopez. The fact that she was with Diddy in the first place, and how she's now possibly tied in to this rabbit hole of this whole mess of Diddy's life, and all of the allegations and now this racketeering, how she's connected. So Ben Affleck was like, okay, I'm out. That's it. I'm done. You're on your own. Smart man.
Now, there's another situation, and this was actually picked up by a few media outlets. Radar Online, I think, had it. Angela Yee, who used to be on The Breakfast Club, she had it on her show. It surfaced on a bunch of podcasts probably about a month ago, where he had hit her, I think, with a chair, and she woke up in the hospital. And of course, hit Kim.
Okay.
And she wakes up in the hospital, after being hit with this chair. he was apparently a very violent dude. Like, not only would he beat her physically, and especially if he thought she was talking to other guys, but like it got to a point somewhere along in there where he was very, very violent. But for whatever reason, she kept going back. So it's one of those things where like, you can only get pity for so long because you keep going back to this guy. But she ultimately in the book, she said that she loved him. Now
he's manipulating her with money and threats and all kinds of stuff. So, or at least that seems to be his MO according to the indictment. But anyway.
Yeah, and that's, you got to figure when you've got that much money, you got to think about this, Matt. We're talking about a guy that a year ago was given the key to the city of New York in the middle of Times Square. They gave Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him, the key to the city. And now he's possibly going away for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I don't think the key, it doesn't really open anything, but I hear you.
No, it doesn't open anything, but it's still like, well, they did give Francis the key to the Florida, I think, one time.
The bar is low. Like these criminals, you're giving criminals, like I should get something, passcode, something.
The key to a real estate agency down there.
Something. It's ridiculous.
There's a situation where she winds up being pregnant.
Uh-oh.
With twins. Now, there had been Kim.
No, I know Diddy's not pregnant.
Yes,
I'm saying
Diddy.
by Diddy.
Yes, by Diddy.
It was kind of an open relationship.
It was in the beginning. It kind of solidified back to a regular relationship, but they would often have like other parties come in involved. She would say that he would have multiple people come in and be with her so he could watch. And these are the parts when I'm hearing about this, I'm like, I don't know if this is, 100% accurate. It sounds like it's kind of stretched, but then now with all these indictments, it sounds right in line.
Yeah.
And you got to remember again, I'm reading this back in March or April.
Okay, like he's saying, that's the same thing of what I was thinking over the past many months, over the past years. I'm saying to myself that this information is just too incredible to believe. That this can't be real. This is gossip. This is conspiracy theory. This is garbage, fake news, and that's the narrative that I was going on because it was just too crazy to believe that they couldn't make this up in Hollywood. They writers, producers couldn't make this up in a movie with how strange all of this information was coming out many years ago by many different people. And I just kind of like, I just chucked it off as, this is gossip. This is fake news. I don't believe this. Yeah, now it's starting to all make sense. Now that, again, like I said, now it seems that all the dots are starting to be connected. And that just maybe this stuff is all true.
So she finds out she's pregnant and she goes to him and she tells him. And because they have been doing all this wild, crazy shit, she thinks that he's going to be upset. And she said he's like smiling and he's like kind of happy. He's like, oh my God, I'm going to be a dad. This is great, because she had a kid when they first got together, but it was from another guy named Al B. Sure, who was another singer. So Diddy was excited. And she said, I was so relieved that he wasn't mad. And she was like, but we're going to have to go, one more time now before you can't do this anymore. And she's like, what do you mean? And what he meant was they're going to have to do another, basically, I don't know if I would classify this as a party, but he wanted multiple people, multiple guys to be with her. And we're talking like Vince McMahon-esque type situations, like hurtful stuff,
right.
Stuff that I don't even want to say because I don't want to get this video demonetized.
Right.
But I mean, just some really bad shit. And she, was somewhat, I would say, forced, or, at that point she's got his kids. What can she do? Now, after she has the kids, the relationship doesn't get any better. There's still a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot more stuff in the book. So I can't remember all of it, but the key here is when she finally decides to get away. Now, she said that he would record a lot of prominent people and keep them keep these recordings in a safe in his house. Now, she goes to his house, which I'm sure she had access to. She gets the safe, gets the stuff from the safe, all these videos, and she basically uses that as the exit strategy. And at that point, she says that she's going to write this book, and if anything happens to her, the book will be released along with the tapes. Now, these tapes are alleged to have singers Usher, Justin Bieber. You know, there's a lot of prominent celebrities. Now, these are all guys that have been in the media about being with him. There's videos of him with Bieber saying that Bieber hung out at his house for like 2 or 3 days back when Bieber was really young.
Sometimes, unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in acts with commercial workers. And then later it says in the indictment that that he would use them to intimidate and coerce these various people. So yeah, bro, this is why you should have done a video like this 3 months ago or 2 months ago.
Well, like I didn't at that point. I was just like, I didn't want to come out and be like the delivery guy of a bunch of misinformation and this, that, and the other. I was you got to understand, this is a guy that I would have not thought was responsible. I don't think a lot of people thought he was responsible for all this.
I interview guys that do that all the time.
Yeah, but I don't want to be that guy.
I mean, listen, there's a good 15% of these guys that are talking to me on my program, and I'm thinking, I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think that happened. That doesn't feel right. But hey, whatever. Anyway, the book it's out, right?
Yes, the book is out right now. It's on Amazon.
Right. And it's been out for how long?
It actually got, I think, dropped on Amazon about 2 weeks ago, but it's been around since April.
Okay, so it's been around, whatever, but it's been published 2 weeks ago, and the indictment just came out.
Yes, it's been out. It's been published, I think, on Amazon. It got posted to Amazon roughly 2 weeks ago, and the indictment, just dropped today. And like I said, I talked about. I do what?
Do you have a copy of it?
Not since it actually got published by Amazon, because everything's changed. It was basically just like it looked like a movie script when I got it. Kim's Lost Words. Looks a little blurry on the phone, obviously, but the book didn't even have a cover when I read it, which is another reason why I was a little skeptical about all this, but that it did have some pictures mixed in there with it. And again, like I said, this just come out a couple weeks ago. The indictment just happened, but I read all this, months and months ago. And then little bit by little bit, all these things were coming out. She gets her hands on these tapes, and that's basically like her security, that, all right, if something happens to me, this is going to go.
Right.
Now they do separate. She gets sick and ultimately passes away of pneumonia. He's not questioned or anything in this, they ruled it pneumonia. So I don't want to, drum up a conspiracy with that, but they didn't question him in anything like that. It wasn't ever really looked into. Did he do this? Even though there's been quite a few people in the music industry involved with Diddy that's died of pneumonia. I mean, not saying that's a coincidence, but I'm saying it looks like a coincidence. So she's got this, she passes away of pneumonia. Now her house is robbed.
Right.
And basically what they're saying that what happened here is, or the consensus is, that Diddy knew she had this. So he went and tried to retrieve all these hard drives. And the word is that he did. Now, obviously this isn't what's in the book. This is what I was told by this individual of how he became in possession of it. Was Diddy got the hard drive. Diddy got all the evidence back from her. Now, at some point, and this is alleged, this is coming second, third-hand information, Cassie got it from him, and Cassie gave it to someone who he knew. And that's how he come in contact with it. Cassie is the girl, obviously, that was shown in the video of him really, really brutalizing in the hallway and next to the elevator. That's the video that released probably 2 or 3 months ago. I don't know if you remember that one or not. It was pretty graphic what he did.
Okay.
Chasing her down the hall, beating her, kicking her, and all that. Allegedly, she got it from him. and whoever she gave it to knew the person that I was speaking with, and that's how they actually got it. They're obviously worried about repercussions from releasing this, but they wanted the truth to come out, and so that's kind of where we are. Now, you notice the name on that book of the author?
Yeah. Well, it's not the author. By Millwood or whatever, Jamal Millwood, T. Millwood, for Billy Porter.
Right. Now, you want to know what you get when you Google Jamal Millwood?
Mm-mm.
This just kind of goes further down this rabbit hole. This was an alias of what allegedly Tupac Shakur used after he faked his death.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know whether this is just like a little inside thing or what with this. But yeah, there's a lot more stories in here, man. There's stuff with Jay-Z. And I think I might have skipped over that part, that allegedly Jay-Z was the one that told Biggie, or told Puff, that Biggie was planning on leaving, which is what kind of set that in motion, that he was going to pull protection. He wasn't going to back someone that wasn't backing him. The kind of the story behind that is, if Jay-Z wanted that spot of New York for him, and if Biggie was around, he was going to be second. Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, one thing I wanted to note is that he was saying that the author of the book, which again, because of the fact that the book is not on Amazon, because I checked, and I also did a Google of Kim Porter's, her name and the name of the book, and there's nothing on the internet. So I'm thinking that possibly Diddy and his lawyers had a cease and desist written up to stop this book from being published. So it's not on the internet. It's not on Amazon. So I don't know how to get a hold of it. But again, this gentleman, Hollywood Wade, he has a photograph. Again, he has a photograph on his phone, a screenshot of the book, the book cover, which has Kim Porter's face, and of course the title of the book. But because of the fact the image is kind of blurred, I didn't see the author's name, but he is saying the author's name is Jamal Millwood. And this is supposed to be, I don't know how true this is, but the information that's coming out is basically this is supposed to be Tupac. Tupac is supposedly living in New Zealand under the name Jamal Millwood. Now, I don't know how factual that is. But that is a piece of conspiracy theory right there. So do with that as you want. I don't believe it, but it's interesting. It's a very interesting urban tale, I would say. But we're gonna finish off this interview.
That's in the book, written by Kim, that meeting happened. All this stuff up until obviously when she died is accounts that she had with him. There's, like I said, there's a lot of other stuff in there. We'll put the link up obviously in the description if you guys want to go check it out. I'm telling you, just to read this, it was really, at that time, like I said, it kind of took me a little bit by surprise, but now with all these indictments, and we can get into these indictments, it seems like this book was spot on, because we're not just talking about a few minor instances here. He's got racketeering charges, which carries a life sentence. A lot of the mob guys that I've interviewed had racketeering charges. He's got kidnapping charges that are a minimum of like 10, and these trafficking charges can go up to life at the minimum of 15. And that's just a few.
Yeah.
And have you seen, from what I've seen, they have not given him bond, I don't think.
No, I couldn't imagine that. Well, I was going to say I can't imagine they will, but the truth is, they might give it to him. He puts up enough property. He's well known enough. It's kind of like the whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing. It's like, okay, you can say, well, he shouldn't get bond. He could flee the country. Well, where's he going to go? There's very few places this guy can go. He's got enough property and stuff to put up as collateral, and he's too recognizable to disappear.
No, I agree. And I guess I never had this, obviously I never had this kind of a, situation to deal with, but it looks like kind of a proposal of his defense team. And it's like a $50 million bond. He's going to put up his home in Miami. It's equated to 50 mil or 49 million. Obviously he can put up other assets of his businesses. Part of the deal was he would be, I guess, confined to his home in Florida and his home in New York and New Jersey.
Put an ankle monitor on.
He suspended his passport. So obviously he can't leave the country. And also his family, his kids and his family surrendered their passports as well. But last I seen, I don't know if 100% if I can say it's denied, but he hasn't gotten it yet. And I don't really imagine with these charges that he's going to get it, because that's not it. It's not just those three. And you got the indictment there, but they got on there coercing, enticing to engage.
Okay, we're gonna cut it right there.
Narcotics.
Again, this is the from the gentleman. This is from his podcast, his page, and he goes by the name again, Matthew Cox, and the name of the podcast is Inside True Crime, and the gentleman or the guest on there, his name is Hollywood Wade. So again, if you want to go by his page and listen to the complete interview, the podcast in its entirety, it's over an hour long. So I didn't post the full interview or the podcast here because it was just too long, and I just wanted to get the meat of what they were talking about. Again, this is all new to me. The fact that Kim Porter actually had a book out, and again, I tried to look on Amazon. I can't find it. Maybe there's people out there that are able to. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm here in Germany, and Amazon is different here. So maybe what they get in America or maybe in another country, I can't get here in Germany for whatever reason. I don't know. But again, I tried to look for it, and it's not on Amazon on my end. So that's for that. So that is the information that I received earlier today. And again, I think as far as Diddy is concerned, I think he is going to go for a plea deal. It would be it would benefit him more if he tries to go for a plea deal, because that will lessen his time, possibly, and I know there's plenty of people that is connected to this indictment, to his indictment, his RICO indictment. So, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there right now, like I said before, they're sitting on pins and needles, and they're hoping and praying. And again, I really hope that nothing happens to Diddy, like this becoming another Jeffrey Epstein situation where something bad happens to Diddy, where he's unalived in a situation like this, because like I said, this rabbit hole runs very, very deep, and there's a lot of people that is tied to this whole debacle. So that is tonight's or this morning, wherever you're at in the world. But this is the tonight's podcast. Thanks so much for joining me. Look forward to being with you again. Again, this is Billy Flynn, and you have been listening to the Billy Flynn Experience. Take care.
Go on.
on, you've got another 5 seconds. Say something outrageous.
You dirty bastard.
Go on, again.
You dirty fucker.
What a clever boy.
What a fucking rotter.
Well, that's it for tonight.